Good morning. Today is May 7th, 2021. My name is Joe Salmons, and I attend Liberty University. This is going to be my interpersonal communications plan. If you don't know that much about communications, don't feel alone, because I did not either when I first started this class. There was a lot of gut checks that I've had to endure in this class, and in fact, it was one of the hardest classes I've had to take. So we're going to be talking about communications, why it's important, why it's essential if you're entering counseling, as well as knowing who you are, your personality flaws and stuff like that, things that I need to work on, and certain barriers that I have. First thing we're going to be talking about is the Uniquely You profile that I took when I first started this class. I would recommend everybody to take the Uniquely You profile by Mels Carbonell. He also wrote a book called How to Solve the People Puzzle. This was very interesting for me because it showed me that I was a little bit different than I was in my public setting around other people than I was in the private setting in my home. So this is something that I really think that people need to pay attention to. The test is actually separated into 4 types of categories or personality traits, and it has a very interesting acronym, DISC, D-I-S-K. D for dominating, I for inspiring, S for sympathy or submissive, and C would be kind of analyzing or cautious. On my personality profile, I was very low on D. It didn't always used to be like this. I actually used to be very dominating. I used to be kind of a prick in life, but I did go through some changes, but I overcorrected. And my S went through the roof, and my D almost went through the floor. It's actually well below the average on the personality score. So this is where I start and where I want to fix some things. Mels Carbonell says that the secret of getting along with people and relating to people is finding out how you mesh with each other, how you fit with each other, and understanding other people's personalities as well. So trying to find a happy medium, trying to find a balance in your communication and your personality is going to translate into so many other different things. Now we're going to be talking about some of my own communication barriers that I have. So my own communication barriers, what are they? Well, they relate directly to my personality traits, and I think that if you take this Uniquely You profile, you'll see the same thing too. If you're lacking in confidence, if you're lacking in sympathy or empathy for other people, you will see that your communication is going to suffer in similar ways. So in my Uniquely You profile, I lacked confidence. I lacked a dominating attitude. I lacked a get-her-done attitude, I guess, leading people and empowering others. So I lacked that. It has turned me into a doormat in my life because I have simply not been able to say no to people. And like I said, it hasn't always been like this, but this is something that I definitely need to work on if I'm going to be entering counseling and trying to empower other people. If I don't lack the leadership skills, if I don't lack the empowerment skills, then I can definitely not lead people in the right way. So also another thing, the last barrier that I have, not only so we went over leadership skills and empowerment skills, not being able to say no, being too submissive, but also overanalyzing things. I was also very high on C on the Uniquely You profile. So this is something else that I need to work on. I need to stop overanalyzing things and just simply act. We're also going to be talking about next on how to fix these problems. So how do we fix some of these problems that we have, some of these problems that I have? There's a reason why we took the Uniquely You profile to begin with, is so we have a good starting point. And once we have a starting point, we can kind of disseminate where we need to go. Schultz and Mazinski actually wrote a very good book called The Essential Guide to Interpersonal Communication. They talk about knowing yourself throughout the book, between your self-identity and your social identity, how you present yourself to other people. And we have a way of protecting ourselves in a lot of ways, and that's how we form our personalities. So in my private life, I'm a little bit different than I am in my public life, but I need to balance those things out. And that is how we fix a lot of these issues, is balancing out a lot of the personality traits that might be a little bit off skewed in one direction or the other. So, how do we form these personality traits that we find so common in our lives? Some people might say it's through genetics and environment and stuff like that, and that might be true. But there are certain things that we do called defense mechanisms that we employ in our daily lives, and it really does make sense if we think about our private life and our public life, our self-image and the image that other people see in us. So we're always trying to protect our self-image. We lie to ourselves constantly, and it's a hard thing to understand that. It's a hard thing to really grasp that we constantly lie to ourselves, but we really do. And we do it through two main mechanisms that Schultz and Basinski talk about. One is called cocooning. Now, what's cocooning? It's basically giving people the silent treatment. It's cocooning ourselves into our own deluded reality that we live in. And we've all done it. I do it all the time, even when I'm not aware that I'm doing it. So this is something that we do to protect ourselves from other people's criticisms. So what do? Other people can criticize us, but what do? We criticize other people as well. And what does that do? It helps us put us on a higher pedestal. It gives us a sense of superiority over other people. And it's just another way that we can protect our private self-image and keep this delusion that we are the same way in public that we are in private. Like I said, a lot of these things are gut checks. That's why you need to take the Uniquely You profile to understand who you are as a human being and your personality. I'm sure everyone out there is wonderful, but knowing who you are and how to balance these things out is very, very important. Another interesting book by Peterson is Why Don't We Listen Better? He has what's called a TLC card, or a talker listener card. I'm including this because it's very important, because this is something that you can use in your own communication with your loved ones or other people. Now, you don't want to use this with just random people, obviously. Your loved ones, your spouse, close friends and stuff like that. This can really help you in your communication for one reason only. I mentioned criticizing and cocooning. These are the things that help shape your personality. If you can force yourself to not do those things, then it's better. And the TLC card is one of the things that you can use and employ to actually prevent yourself from criticizing others and cocooning in your own shell. So I would highly recommend looking into that as well. So now we have reached the final portion of this video on interpersonal communications. I will be discussing what my goals are. I want to be a trauma counselor. I spent my entire life in sales and marketing and doing the whole business thing. It just did not work for me. I've experienced a lot of trauma in my life, and I feel compelled to help other people. I have counseled other people in a non-professional sense, but I want to do it professionally, and I want to work specifically with people who are going through trauma. I've experienced a lot in my life. My family has as well. But France and Hsco actually did another really good book that I've read in this course called Helpful Skills for Human Service Workers, and they talk about transformational leadership. And this goes right back into knowing yourself and empowering other people and working on your leadership skills, because that is what counseling is. At the heart of counseling, you are empowering other people to take control of their lives and to fix their own problems, because you are not going to be there forever, just as much as a parent's not going to be there for their children. The parent is supposed to teach their children how to think for themselves and empower them to make decisions for themselves. And this is what counselors do. Gillette actually did a really good study a couple years ago about autonomy and goal setting, because that's another really big part of counseling, is setting goals for your clients. So Gillette did this study where when people actually felt like they owned the decisions that they made and that they weren't just being commanded by someone, that they actually had much better results and much better outcomes. Jenkins also did a study about counseling as well, specifically trauma counseling, people who deal with people who have gone through many traumatic different things. And if we actually share that trauma with them, if we actually gone through the same things that they have, then there can be a lot of risk involved when we start sharing that. that stuff. We can have secondary stress and secondary trauma syndrome that can help cause us to burn out, and we can lose our empathy, and we can lose our sympathy, and we can lose a lot of different things that makes us really great counselors. So this is something that I believe is very important. The transformational leadership is probably the number one thing that I have learned in this course from Francis Hsco. All the other things have been very important too, but they all work together. The uniquely you profile, learning who we are, learning what our deficits are. I know my deficit is in leadership. And all of these things, knowing yourself and all these different things work together to make me not only a better person in my public and private life, but it will also make me a better person and a better counselor in my future career. And helping to empower people and to make their own decisions and to have a better relationships with each other is very, very important. So I'm going to leave it at that. Those are the things. Those are the main things that I really wanted to talk about and to discuss. But the main thing is to always to try to mimic Christ in your life and to understand that you can have a personal relationship with God, and that is one of the biggest things that you can hold on to and you can share with other people, and you can empower them to have a better relationship with God and to live in the way that is pleasing to God as well, and pleasing to the image bearer that they are in Christ. I will leave it at there. Have a great day, and God bless. Bye.